I said dehumanizing in the last video, but I meant demoralizing. I think the overuse of nostalgia and constantly remaking things into terrible versions is demoralizing, and also a way to degrade America. Not that people care anymore about having like a confident country, a country to be proud of. It's already been written off as too racist and too imperialistic and um, just terrible. So it's interesting that people haven't seen the effects that that has on their own psyche, or everyone thinks that they're the exemption in um, owning the reputation and the problem. Like, I don't really understand constantly degrading where you live and not knowing that that is a reflection of you. And as we age, it will be even more of a reflection of ourselves because we will be in charge, and all the old people that are to blame for all the terrible things will have died off. Or immigrants and people that come here to study or find work also preaching about how the United States is nothing, and it's so funny, especially if it's someone that immigrants that end up in historically port cities and have so much of the glamour, even if they're roughing it in like New York. I think that city has such mythology and is such an experience that you are privileged to even struggle in New York. And maybe that is a controversial and unique thing to say, but it's what I think. I'm just gonna rant about the internet for a bit because there's so many moving parts to it, and it is such a reflection of consciousness, especially because of algorithms and AIs and this communication of what we want to see or what we're being fed and believing that we want to see over time. Because why would we see it if we didn't want to see it? No one questions that. I've been interested in the formats of material and the way people respond to it, and also change their own types of communicating in regards to maybe if they like the video, if they explain why they liked it, or if they just say they liked it. I've seen an uptake in comments that are literally just re-saying what is happening in the video, like full-on paragraphs, and like montages of people getting saved, or pets getting saved, animals getting saved. The comment will be like, "That little girl is so brave. She knew exactly what to do. She looked around the entire situation and went up to an adult and asked for help." It's so almost, I want to say like common sense. It's very strange to just constantly repeating what's happening and not realizing there are already 300 comments and half of them are doing the same thing. I think it's related to this kind of spoken format that a lot of black people would do online, which is something would happen in like a video, and then they would say like, he said, and then, or she said, they said, and like make a joke. I'm not gonna explain this very well, but so I've been watching these montages, and even though they're like good things happening, it's still weird. Because it's like, why don't people go outside and, if a situation happens in which they can help, then that will be real life. Like the constant watching videos of humanity and saying like, oh, this makes me still believe in humanity, or like I'm thankful, or I'm grateful, or being surprised that good things happen when there are billions of people. And for the most part, like we all have instincts to help out. Like when you see someone drop all all the stuff on the floor, like, don't you gravitate towards helping them? Like, it, some of it is just so. Like, I don't get why people watch some things. I don't get why, or like, I can get why, but they don't question why they should keep watching that. You know, instead of just going out to help someone, you are constantly watching 10-minute videos of disasters and like survivors getting through tsunamis or something. Or I came across this channel for trials, and there were like anything that can be very sensationalized or is very thrilling. It's like people really like stories about saving and like the worst stories, like stories about murder. And watching like trials, it was a trial of like some mom that strangled her children. So I think she had like postpartum depression. And you know, she wasn't crying or reacting in the way that they thought someone remorseful would react, even though obviously she's like having such like the larger psychological issues. And you know, everyone in the comment thinking they can crack the case or they know where justice lays. They know the mom is actually like Satan reborn, like absolutely evil. Um, you know, that humans could never, like real humans could never commit such heinous crimes because we're not animals. And it's very interesting when people decide that humans are better than animals or worse than animals. It's like, why would you kill your children? You're not an animal. You're not like a barbarian. You're not some like a wild beast. And then other times, it's like animals taking care of each other, and people are like, oh, if only humans could set aside their differences. Like animals live together in peace and in a peaceful ecosystem, and it's a total lie. But yeah, it's just like even if you have nuance and have insight, and like even myself watching that, you know, my own opinion was like, okay, she's not crying, but you know, maybe she's not allowing herself to feel remorseful, especially publicly remorseful, because then that, you know, if you really understood what you did, then I feel like that would be an unimaginable pain. So it's almost like repressing it and pretending it didn't happen as, you know, self-preservation. But it's like even myself having this opinion or thought, it would be useless to write it, or you know, we all would never know. And why would we be talking to each other about it? It's like so much investment in strangers, and also playing jury, and also so much judgment. And what I just really don't like about it is it's so vulture. It's so people are drawn to this emotion or this place to have an emotion and to be right, and they really like these cases of like murder or watching disasters and watching people get saved. It's always so heightened, and something about that like really disgusts me. It's like when you're driving and there's an accident, and you know, the people that are nosy and really want to see like what's going on with the police, and it's like, can you just like focus on yourself? Do you have to be such like a? It's like this feeling of eating, this feeling of like eating energy, like energy eaters. It's termites basically. And having so much to say about everything and making a point, and even if the point is good, it's just exhausting. It's just exhausting. Like, I used to be one of those people as well, but I think now I am so quick and fast at seeing so many sides that I don't even, you know, want to explain it or feel like I have to think about it to get somewhere. It's just like like an absolute download of every side, everything I could say, and like why saying it doesn't matter. Like um, just now I came across this Marie Kondo commentary because I guess she is like a mom of three, and she's putting aside her decluttering minimalist type of ways because she wants to focus more on her children. So obviously more is going to accumulate with more children, and then some people are like, "Ha, like we knew you were a fraud, and that you would never live this way, and that we're right for hoarding our stuff and having all of our books." And then other people are like, "Actually, if you paid attention to it," and it's just like when you really pay attention to all marketing. And I'm not saying she did this on purpose, But I mean, this is just how duality and polarity and stuff works, in the way that people, in order to extend themselves, will constantly flip back and forth between sides in order to extend the cycle of their relevancy. So they'll have one opinion, and then it basically gets drained, and like everyone squeezes as much out of it, and then just as it's dead, they'll flip, and then they can be talked about again because now they're on the other side, and then maybe that same opinion will flip again, or something else will flip. It's just when you've lived long enough to see people constantly changing in that way, it's like, why would we judge them or expect things to stay the same? It's, this is just the nature of reality, is the changing. So when there's such responses and emotions tied to talking about people or their beliefs, I don't get it anymore. Which is why there is no benefit to identification, because either you're going to change your identification, or someone else is, and just pretending you can keep track of who's good and who's bad is a full time job, and I don't know why we've insisted that people have it, especially if you're not even getting paid. Something I do wonder about is, I really don't like the algorithms. Even when I make my own, even when I've changed a lot to see new algorithms, everything kind of still feels the same format. And it's like, I wonder, but then I wonder, is this what we really want to see? Like, is this what human beings really want to see? Since we're in charge of the algorithm, but are we? But like, let's just say we are. Wouldn't the algorithm be more truthful than the TV shows that are programmed um, and narratives? I think narratives have done more harm than we consider, and it's only really talked about when it comes to women in like romantic comedies. And people are like, "Oh, you believe the Disney dream, you believe the Disney movies, and not like a princess really coming to save you." This is one reason I've gotten bored of stories. It's just the actual format. Um, is there an actual word for like the narrative experience of the set roles in which it's like the build up, and then something like conflict, climax, and resolution, things like that. It's not just a matter of what happens; it's just like that style, the way stories are told. Um, like the format bores me. So there's not much that can be novel, since it's the format in itself that bores me. Which I'm not sure if that's happened with music for me, or if that can happen, unless I'm re-listening to like one genre over and over. But it's mostly with like TV shows and movies, I think. Um, so yeah, the way that formats make the story easily digestible, it's such a good propaganda tool, and um, there's so much about like fictional TV shows and movies isn't that is worded in such a way that it's not how people speak. And I think it's interesting that so much media is kind of a funhouse mirror of reality, in that way that it's not how people speak, and it's not the totality of life. Like, even in TV shows or movies in which tragedy is shown, they rarely get death right. They rarely get just the mixture of life in general, the highs and lows, the boredom, the nothingness, but the way that there can be holiness too. Because I guess they have to have a whole plot in 25 to 40 minutes, 60 minutes, and they're more content with sticking to a genre than um, being realistic. And sometimes the realism isn't in every category, in every level. Like some get the realism of the fashion correct, or the settings correct, maybe the mannerisms, but maybe not like the looks of the actors, actresses, the chemistry. Like it's hard to get everything correct in that sense. But it's so important because we are constantly in this dialogue between these fictional depictions of what we assume life is and actual life. And you see, like, once humans are in control of what they want to watch, um, I guess you can judge us as a whole off of that, and the music videos or the fight videos, but also the saving puppies videos. I was re-listening to Reality Transurfing, and I think it clicked, kind of quietly clicked that this experience of life that I'm having is not. See, I always thought it was like I'm going to wake up, and when I wake up, I'm going to be in a different place. There is something to wake up to. There is something to wake up from, and then I realized that it's not that I'm waking up; it's that I'm waking in. You don't wake up from the dream. There is nowhere else to go. There is no dream in reality. It is all a dream. So the most you can do is wake in, and when you wake in, that's when life becomes lucid, and that's when you start seeing these types of things. When you realize the futileness of judgment, of the way things change, or the way things are both things, and how some choices don't actually get you a solution, and you really you can observe the energy. And I'm not saying that I'm like a magician now, but in the way that people talk, and the way that you can hear their beliefs, and there's this concept in Reality Transurfing about pendulums and how the duality of aspects, and you can get stuck in a pendulum. Basically, the more resonance you collect, or the more, like, if you have a belief and it kind of builds up over time, then you get stuck on one end of the pendulum, and um, not only have I like obviously experienced that, nobody can escape pendulum basically unless you're very self-aware. And I think if you practice on duality, that will help to keep you centered. And also, I think if you just surrender to the idea of no free will, or at least have less expectations, which I have now. So, basically, you have to give up the idea of grandeur. I think because I think it's harder to be grand than mediocre or basic. But that is just a belief. So maybe if any belief can be a belief, and if all beliefs are equal, then I can always, that belief that I have and that is not more true or not more right, and it's just the side in which I'm on in this moment, that I think that it is less likely to be grand. So, in my past videos, what I've said is that I'm not smart. What I think I mean is I'm not exceptional. And finding peace within myself is accepting that I might be at the end of myself, or I feel at the end of myself right now, and this is either my capacity or all that life needs from me. Because I do think that if there was more needed, that, I would get more hints and more doors, more push, um, more clues, and I don't think I'd get that many. But who knows if it's, around the corner or something. Um, like this in itself could probably be the thing in which I am supposed to do and I'm supposed to learn, instead of something more physical and having like a more impressive career and like a great love story. So you see it in the way that people talk. It's kind of like, when a friend goes on about a relationship and is asking for your advice and they're not taking it, or have already kind of made a decision and pretending they're not. It's just when you see the accumulation of energy in certain pockets and know that that energy is a habit. So people are all on certain timelines um, based off the types of energy that they have. And instead of, most people don't know that they can take ownership and that they always get in victimized mode. So they think things are happening to them or, life isn't fair when really they need to take a break from whatever they're doing in order to like cleanse the energy, the pendulum, give it a rest so it can move somewhere else. And that's also why people say that when you really want something, it won't come, and then immediately when you move on, it'll come. It's because you've let go of the pendulum and you've allowed it to move to the opposite space. And when you really, or as I've focused more on this concept of the pendulums, and I think that's basically the biggest lesson that people are supposed to be learning in this time, especially in regards to politics, because we've seen the extremists on each side, and I don't remember what podcast this was that was talking about this, but oh no, it was Quantum of Conscience. One of his most recent videos, he said that a friend had mentioned like there's no more like divide and solution, or there's no more process to solution. It is just argue and divide, and people aren't really calling that out. It's like Republicans and Democrats, there is no bipartisanship. There's no, this is what we're gonna get done. It is just like divide, pick a side, divide, pick a side, divide, pick a side, divide, and that's just the pendulum in full effect. It's like no one is actually helping us, and I don't think people understand the gravity of us being abandoned. But I guess that is because they're mostly like liberals or something, and they think the world was saved when, or I don't even think they think this. It's just because he's so lukewarm. Like Joe Biden, they really just have no accountability for him. But he's not Trump, so it's interesting because isn't next year the next presidential election? So I always remembered like the year before presidential elections were really big because we were just gearing up, and now there's no energy, and it's not that I want energy, but this is just one reason why I pulled away from politics and kind of just like respecting my friends in some sense, because these things would come up and I'd always just be like, you guys have been very vocal about these causes and who needs to be in charge. And then you just like stop paying attention, and then I pay attention more than you, and I don't even like these people who care about these things. Yeah, the pendulums make me, once again feel less like things are personal. It's more that I'm an accumulation of beliefs and bubbles of energy. And when you don't put your energy towards being an extremist or having like strong opinions on each side, it's like I don't even really know what to engage with, because so many things are about a side, or so many topics are about a side, especially if it's like intellectual, that my only interest is, I don't want to say happiness. I think it's just peace, because I don't understand the point in anything else, and some people really think the point is like knowing a lot, and through that knowing, like finding what's right. And when you're right, then you're in such truth that maybe that is like being God. Because I do think there is a truth that is important, but I don't think it is found in such trivial or human things. I think there is a God truth that um, is definitely worth seeking, and maybe that is just what faith is, what grace is, what peace is. But I'm considering, like, do I want peace more than my dreams? I don't think I even have a dream anymore. I don't think. I was thinking about what to eat this week, or in a way where it could be like a treat myself type of thing. But I'd already had the fried food that I wanted and the dessert that I wanted, and I couldn't even think of more on top of that. Even though, and the chips that I wanted, even though I haven't, I just grocery shopped for the first time in a couple of months, even though I haven't had what the amount you think you would need to have or should have to feel satisfied. Maybe it's the minimalist thing that really curbed my appetite for a lot of things, but it was just like, wow, I don't even know what would make me happy or what would feel good enough to have, because um, I guess I'm already fulfilled, or some things are just so stressful, or I know that I am too much in my imagination and making up the perfect thing that it wouldn't even be worth it to really entertain. Like, if I thought about buying some clothes right now, I know I would need them in such a particular way that it's almost like I'd rather not buy clothes, and I would, and just give myself the peace of not having it matter. Just like finding the resolve and the acceptance of, I'm not going to be a I guess I'll say important person. I'm not going to be the person at the company that people like the most, and that's not because I'm not. It's not because I'm unlikable, but it's just there are certain responsibilities or types of roles you have to be to have that kind of spotlight. Like, I'm not going to be in charge of a lot of things to be like the vice president or something. Um, at least I feel that way now. Maybe in 10 years, 20 years, when things change, or, I decided I don't even know if I want a career. I actually had this bucket list when I was a kid, or maybe it was just like life goals, I don't know. And it was like 200 things long, and there were so many things on it that was like own a bakery, own a flower shop, write a book, adopt children. It was so all over the place. And something that I think is true is I feel like most people genuinely know what they want to be when they're children and what they would be good at. And I think something about that list always confused me. Like, there were I'd had like 3 or 4 mental career shifts in my head of like main things. But when I think about that list, sometimes I think I'm just going to go from job to job to job, because there are so many interesting things and so many interesting niche jobs and things to learn. And I don't think I would have enough time to both have a career and then end up like having all those hobbies. Like, wouldn't it be easier to be a florist for like a year, and then like be like work at a bakery, and then like work at the post office, instead of being a doctor who on the side takes floral classes. I think that would make for an interesting life, is basically job hopping and using my time for the thing in itself, instead of having a career and then having no time, but still like squeezing in the time for less full knowledge, and you're not submerged in actual environment and seeing all the moving pieces, if only in your peripheral vision. But I think regardless, like, there's something that I'm really going to hold on to, um, because my what's in my sights is peace more than anything else. it's interesting hearing people kind of complain about their lives or say they can't be happy, and they just have those paragraphs and paragraphs, or say that they're misanthropes. And I feel like I can almost never complain again because I know, or I appreciate, I'm old enough that there has been so much that's accumulated in, I want to say, like my body, my heart, my memories, that I can really take the small things for what they're worth. And I think it would be a lie and disrespectful to myself to say that I don't live a good life because it's not um, what other people consider good, or I'm still missing things like I am missing quote unquote like a big milestones, but I still think that I've had thousands of good meals, I've read dozens or hundreds of good books, I've watched hundreds of interesting movies, and I've known dozens of likable people. I've known good people um, in passing, and I've had good friendships. Like I've had like 4 or 5 um, best friends in my life, and I think best friends are literally like the highest or the greatest life achievement you can have, other than I don't want to say obviously, but and I kind of don't even want to say other than a romantic relationship, because it did so it did such magic to actually click with someone as a best friend. And I wonder, see, people will self-identify as misanthropes, but is there another word, or is it true that they can be misanthropes? Because I don't think they hate people because they hate people. I think they hate people and are upset that they hate people. Like, they hate people because they wish that people were different. That's not the same as just hating people. I mean, their hate comes from a place of disappointment, is a place of reversal. That's not, I don't think that's the same as hating, um, actually, like, hating people, no matter what. Yeah, a question that's asked a lot, especially if you're like a celebrity, is how do you want to be remembered? And I think a better question is how do you want to be forgotten? Because that is what um, life is and what living is. And something I experienced was some close relatives passing, and this is someone that I'd visited a lot when I was a kid, and I mean, she was basically like my second mom. And when she passed, it was kind of like, and it's still like, I love this woman so much, and I would love to see her again, but I cannot remember anything in particular about us together. Maybe like one like core memory, even though she'd been in my life for 2 decades, or maybe rather, I've been in her life for 2 decades. Um, and there's like small things like how that house in particular looked, and the kinds of things that they would eat and she would cook, and the things that we would drink and do in the house. But it's just like, how could I have known this? Like, how could this person be so important? And I just had no. It's not even that I don't remember because I was so young. It's just that sometimes your presence is so locked into your livingness, and I don't know if I have if my brain works in an out of sight, out of mind type of way, but it was really like, wow, this is like one of the most five important people in my life, and I can't recall them. And if I can't recall them, then I won't be able to recall anyone lesser. So it's kind of just like, well, how do I want to forget people, or how would I want to be forgotten? And just to give examples of like what people could answer with is like, would you like to be forgotten quickly? Would you like to be forgotten slowly? I feel like I would hope that if someone wanted to remember me, that they would be able to. But it's not that I want to be remembered. I find myself in a situation where I don't have much access or information on my ancestors, so I try to search, then do like family tree research, and what I would hope is that if I ever have grandchildren, or if there are other children in my family, that 3 or 4 more descents on the line when I'm gone, that if they were interested in knowing what I was like as a person, that there would be some sort of access. Like, I want to be remembered if you want to remember me, but I don't mind being forgotten.